So how many new clients is that for you?
Around that time I came to you guys, I think I was sitting at like 12 or 13, and now I'm at 19.
Is that why you think you get a lot of medical professionals that reach out to you? Is because you are a licensed dietitian?
Yeah, there's a level of trust there. And I think why I've had success with them is just that I think when a lot of people like come to a fitness coach, there's a little bit of I won't say like arrogance, but
Welcome back to AR Podcast. My name is Mike Crowson, the CEO and co-founder of AR Funnel. And I have Mr. Dillon Wells here today, who is pharmacist. Is that right? No.
dietitian.
That's it. I was like, he's up here in knowledge. Dietitian. And then you also work with other people in the same space, as far as like the person you love to work with, which I'm looking forward to diving into as well. And you're also an avid competitor as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. When's the next show?
We are, God willing, shooting for nationals in December, hoping to take a first crack at it.
All right, first crack at it. Is this gonna be your first national show?
Yeah, so I've only competed twice in I guess 4 years now. I've been doing this. First show back when Mike and I were at grad school, started training together. First show was in 2022. Took a good 3 years off. That was when I was like finishing up grad school. I was doing my dietech clinical internship. Not the best time to compete, just with the grueling work schedule that entails. And that was also when I was starting to dive into coaching, so it just didn't make sense to prep for a show when I was working 50, 60 hours a week. So took a good amount of time to grow. Competed again last year, qualified, and so we were still 6 pounds under the cap. So we figured we'll try to max that out this year.
All right. Well, I plan on trying to max mine out as well. Currently, it is maxed, but hopefully we will see. I'm 10 weeks out. I guess Saturday will be 9.5, but today's 10 weeks, and I'm currently 230. Got to make 209. This time last year, when I got ready for nationals or ready for my first show, then we ended up doing nationals. I was 217 to start, and I wasn't this lean, so I walked in around 205. So curious to see what that turns out to be. If we were 15 pounds heavier, then now we're looking at 220. So that's a pretty big difference. But I think we'll do just fine.
Yeah, you definitely had a good year to really, focus in on it. So I'm excited to see what you bring.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I wouldn't even call it a year, right? Because it's been 6 months since I stepped off stage. It's like we're back into the prep. So I would probably say I'd probably say after 4 more weeks, then I think all growing will probably stop at that 6-week mark, and then kind of just dial it on in from there. Because I'm still eating quite a bit of food, which is exciting. But from a person that is a registered dietitian like yourself, what is your take on bodybuilding?
It's a great question. I think there's some things that can be pulled from it that like your average, like I work mostly with just kind of lifestyle people. A lot of my demographic is working with other healthcare providers. And I think there is a level of discipline and structure that bodybuilding gives to people that those kind of people need, because they live such a chaotic schedule that they try to make fitness harder than it needs to be. And like they come from like the lifestyle kind of realm where people are more like intuitive eating and just if it fits your macros, just macro tracking. And they don't have the mental bandwidth to do those kind of things. It's exhausting on top of, thinking about all their patients for the day and stuff like that. Whereas like you and I as bodybuilders, we have a list of what we eat every single day. Repetitive. It's one less thing off our checklist. And I think that is something, reducing like the mental burden, I think, is the biggest thing that they can take away from that.
Yeah, decision fatigue.
I don't want to think about like planning, food and like grocery shopping. Like I put everything into my HEB pickup order every week, and I don't have to think about it.
And so walk me through what a medical professional that you work with, walk me through a very specific problem that they would have as an example, and then how you combat that to fix it.
Yeah, I think I see this a lot with medical professionals is they're so stressed that usually like the first thing they turn to when they want to like fix their health is, I know I need to tighten up my diet. And like a lot of those people are very smart. They have some sort of like nutritional background. They probably took it as like an elective during school, but they don't have like their body's not functioning in the way where that macro or that macro plan or that diet can get them to where they want to. They have usually some sort of stomach acid deficiency, some sort of circadian rhythm problem because they either do shift work or they're flipping back and forth. Their schedule isn't consistent. They have some sort of like adrenal fatigue issue because they're so stressed out and they've been burning the candle at both ends for far too long. And so usually it's, yes, I'm going to set them up on like a proper diet, but I'm usually not expecting to see any, like, I don't want to push anything super hard out the gate because usually it's just fixing that stress issue first because everything kind of stems from that.
And then, so what would be like a generic, let's say like weightlifting protocol or cardio basis or steps? Like, what do you typically start with as far as like days of week and steps and amount of exertion?
I think it depends on where they're at. You know, I've got people that are not doing anything. And so like starting them off just doing like 2 resistance training days a week and some steps is all they can fit in to their day. Some people, they do have a little more regular routine and it's refining some of those things, you know, working on optimizing their training volume to make sure that they're not overdoing it. Cause I think something too that people don't like think about is all stress is cumulative, even good stress like resistance training. And so, you know, sometimes they just may work a schedule that doesn't allow them to, you know, live the most optimized training program where they're able to train 5 times a week and do 3 to 4 sets of everything. You know, sometimes they just may be working a 12-hour shift and all they can do when they get off is 3 or 4 movements for 2 sets each. You know, it's kind of learning where I've said this before when I've talked about this, but there's a line where, you know, if you cross it, you're having diminishing returns and there's nothing really beneficial there. But if we don't do enough, we're not going to see the outcome that we want. And so it's kind of finding out like where that line is, which is a little bit of experimentation and just kind of towing that line.
So the medical professional that has chronic fatigue probably has like high cortisol and just that fatigue, that adrenal dump fatigue, high cortisol, high blood pressure in the morning or high blood sugar in the morning from working those 12-hour shifts or rotational shifts, plus whether you work in the ER or the, you know, something that is a high demand of stress. What's the first thing that you want to tell them to do or prescribe to them?
Biggest thing I think is usually it's setting up a better routine for a lot of them, like setting sleep and wake time so that their circadian rhythm gets normal. Waking up first thing in the morning, exposing them to like bright light. If they work night shift, like setting them up and getting exposure to bright light. If they don't, getting sun exposure first thing in the morning. Oh, the one that I think everyone, this isn't just medical professionals, but doom scrolling on our phones at night has got to be like one of the worst things that I see almost everyone I work with do. They're astonished by like how much their sleep quality improves when I just tell them, hey, 30 minutes before bed, put your phone up, read a book, journal, do some breath work. They work up to an hour and they're like, their whole life has changed.
So do you think it's more important on the morning routine or the night routine? To the medical professional that struggles with fatigue, who struggles with cortisol, high blood sugar in the mornings, is the morning routine more important to establishing a better baseline, or is a nighttime routine more important?
I think the evening, and I'm going to say this because I think that's where most people will place their self-destructive habits, like their late night kind of snacking and stuff like that. They have caffeine super late in the afternoon because they're just trying to survive the rest of their shift, and that disrupts their sleep quality. They're doom scrolling late at night because they're trying to, take back some of their time because they haven't been able to do the things that they want to do. Versus if they just went to bed a little earlier, they'd probably feel a lot better in the morning. They wouldn't be compensating throughout the day to make up for their lack of sleep.
What does the typical day of eating look like that somebody that's going through it as a medical professional, that before they come to you to get it all fixed?
It's usually a cup of coffee in the morning. If they're great, maybe it's like a protein shake. They usually won't eat much until lunch if they get a lunch. And if they don't, it's usually throwing down something from the vending machine. It's in the hospital, which I can tell you is not usually full of great things. If they're a little better, they might, cook something in the evening. For a lot of them, they're grabbing something on the way home, takeout line, and then some sort of snack in the evening because they're just stressed about the next day and just not really sure where to start.
How many people you think in the medical professional field struggle with weight loss as a whole?
95%. I think it's a very small few who have figured it out. And there's a lot of people who they're turning to other people who are also struggling to figure this out. They don't always have the resources at their disposal to be able to get on the right track. And it's definitely not a supportive environment either, when you've got vending machines left and right in the hospital, and then you go down to the cafeteria and it's Chick-fil-A and Subway, and then those are your options.
Do you think that there is a level of shame to medical professionals that are overweight and seeking help, being that we're the professional in the health world?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think like we all hear it, I know what I need to do, I just don't do it. There is so much of that with people in that field because just like you said, they're supposed to be the authority, but they're struggling themselves. So there's just like a lack of confidence, I would say, more than shame, in being that they haven't figured it out themselves. And it admittedly is hard to, have to reach out to somebody else when you're seen as, an authority figure, a subject matter expert. You're not doing it yourself.
Is that why you think you get a lot of medical professionals that reach out to you, is because you are a licensed dietitian and you share that same professional space with them?
Yeah, there's a level of trust there. And I think why I've had success with them is just that I think when a lot of people come to a fitness coach, there's a little bit of I won't say arrogance, but the way they will usually speak to clients is it's kind of talking down to them like they don't know everything. And I usually try to meet them with hey, I know you have this background in science, how the human body works. I'm not going to over explain this to you, but I'm going to tell you, I recognize that you know how to do these things. You just don't know how to integrate it into your life to make it not feel like a second job. And that's where I come in.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because it's somebody that's got the sheepskin. It's I also want to listen to somebody else that has some sheepskin too.
Yeah.
Hard to listen to, the person from the gym that doesn't have the 12-hour shifts or don't know what it's looked like or doesn't know how hard it was in school, which is where I gained all this weight to begin with. And so it definitely makes sense there. What are 3 things that go wrong during med school that make medical professionals end up in a bad place and overweight?
I think the biggest one, and I won't say it's necessarily something that just happens in school, but it's kind of just a character trait as a whole, is most people in the healthcare space, they have huge bleeding hearts and they want to take care of everybody around them. And they don't recognize that if they don't take care of themselves first, they're going to be pouring from an empty cup. And they may try to give them their best intention, but they could serve them at such a greater capacity if they just took care of themselves first and they were able to show up in their best self.
Right on. What would be something else?
Other ones, a dietitian, and I always end up talking about sleep, people pulling these all-nighters to try to, cram a little bit more before these exams and stuff like that. I was guilty of it when I was in college too. And so that one, time management, I think is a big one. Just making sure that you allocate you allocate the time towards what's important to you, and what's going to move the needle. And you and I both know that goes in all aspects of life, whether that's school, business, your physique, your health, all those things. What's important gets your attention.
And what would be the advice to give that medical professional that is really bad at time management? How do you teach them to allocate time?
I think for a lot of them, once they see things start to change, they have to recognize it first. They kind of need some evidence. We're all a little type A and we need to see evidence behind something. So if you get the ball rolling, usually that's where people recognize oh, I got a little more sleep tonight and I feel a lot better, and maybe I need to start making this a priority. So you take that evidence there, say, hey, you did this. This also applies in this area of life too. You're struggling with your meal prep. So, and you haven't allocated enough time to it. Give me 30 minutes here to prep you for the next 3 days. You're probably going to have a much less stressful 3 days. And that's when they kind of recognize, and those habits compound over time.
Oh, makes sense, man. Well, dude, I'm going to change gears for a second. When it comes to AR, how long have you been a part of AR now?
I started, I'm trying to think when the Gray Matter Academy retreat was, because I literally signed up, it was mid-March, I want to say.
It's mid-March, yep.
Mid-March. So mid-March was when I started with you guys.
So we're talking about 4 months, give or take, 120 days. Cool.
Yep.
I always like to ask this question. What was your biggest hesitation before signing up with AR?
I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of hesitations. I have a lot of friends that used you guys before, and I was kind of familiar with what you guys had done. I had talked with Mike and Taylor about you guys before. It was less of is this the right thing for me? It was just kind of when does this going to make sense for my business? So I never had any really hesitations about it.
We get that a lot. It's so when should I get a CRM system? When should I get funnels? Don't I need to have a ton of leads before I need to worry about keeping them organized? What would you tell that person that is, let's say, in that 5K range that's like, well, when should I actually get it? Now that you thought that process, like, what would you tell them?
I feel like I'm in a good spot because I can relate to that. Like when I came on with you guys, my MRR was sitting around like 1,800, and now I'm creeping in on that. I did 4,600 this month, so I'm creeping in on that 5K range. I could not have handled the inbound volume that I had coming in if I didn't have that set up ahead of time, because things would have fell through the cracks. There would have been people I missed. You want to have the systems in place before you have to stress test it, because if you don't, you're just going to fall on your face, and it's going to be a longer expensive learning lesson.
And so you mentioned that you went from 18 to about 48, give or take, on the MRR. So how many new clients is that for you?
I know in January I was sitting at 7 clients. Around that time I came to you guys, I think I was sitting at like 12 or 13, and now I'm at 19.
Nice. Making progress. I like it.
That goal we talked about.
That's it. As you also have a 40-hour-a-week job too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's the thing too. Like I couldn't have handled all the messages and stuff like that if it wasn't all consolidated in front of me, given that I do have like other obligations. I've got patients throughout the day. So I'm not the best organizational person, and I recognize that. And I was like, I need to outsource this. That helped a lot.
And then I always find this like kind of interesting. So you came in person at an event that we essentially co-hosted or held for Mike White Gray Matter Academy with Paul. You guys hear a lot of cool people speak that have done a lot of cool things. How important do you feel like it was to come to the in-person? How impactful was that for you in the business and learning in person versus online? Because you've done both, right? You've been in person to learn, and then you've been inside other courses and group calls and things like that. How did the in-person feel in comparison to the traditional online stuff?
It doesn't compare. It's so different. There's a level of like human connection, I think, that we've all been missing the last 10 years. So getting to just connect with people and chop it up is always good. I think also just we all have such short attention spans these days that if you're shoved in a room for 9 hours, you're going to be forced to get something taken away at that point. But also I think it just like it takes away I think the internet can like kind of make things a little more intimidating. Like when you're looking at people that are like doing these like big businesses and stuff like that, it kind of takes away the human aspect. And when you're sitting in a room just talking with them, we're all human, we're all working hard, we're all doing a lot of the same things. And so it makes it a little more relatable. I no longer felt like where I wanted to be was as far out of reach as I initially thought it was.
That's such an interesting concept, because what you're doing is you're humanizing the person that you put on a pedestal and realize that, oh, if they can do it, I can too. And I think that's so interesting. What you're basically saying is that our insecurity and imposter syndrome has been reduced by proximity to people doing well.
I think it goes both ways too, because it really depends on who you surround yourself with. And I am my own worst critic, because I'm sitting here like my business is nowhere where it needs to be, but everyone that I talk to on a daily basis has really successful coaching businesses. Mm-hmm. Mike and Paul, other guys in the GMA that are doing well, and I'm not where I want to be. But also I can look back like a year from now, I was working a retail job, and now my coaching business is doing more. I'm making more from my coaching business now than I was a year ago with that job. So probably triple the amount of hours.
Can I leave you with something that I think would be really impactful for you?
Always.
You're a bodybuilder by nature. You look in the mirror. Do you ever go, I've arrived. I've made it. I've got enough muscle tissue on my frame. I'm lean enough. I'm vascular enough. I've got the perfect shape. It's like something about me is just good enough. I don't have to touch that body part anymore. That's who you are. You're a high achiever. Your business will never fulfill that either. And so what's going to happen is that you have to be okay with where you've come in your body and the success and the leaps and bounds that you've made from the beginning, because you're never going to get where you truly want to be. Same goes for your business. If you can't be satisfied with what you see in the mirror, why would you think you'd be satisfied with the amount of money you would make, when in fact the money probably triggers us more than the mirror? So that two things. It's one, we have to be a really fine line between greed, right? And then it's like the difference between greed and self-achievement.
Yep.
Fine line, right? But it's like, as you just said, a year ago, you worked a retail job. Now you have essentially 2 jobs that both pay more than the other job. You're so far from where you've been. And what I like to view it is like this: look back 3 years from today. Where were you?
Yep.
And I want you to look at, what do 3 years from now look like? That's exciting. It's not where I'm not where I want to be yet, and that whatever. I'm so excited to get here because I know it's going to happen, because I know me, high achiever, I'm going to put in the work.
Yeah.
I'm going to put
absolutely.
in the time, the money, the resources, the energy to make it happen. It's just time, baby.
Yeah.
I just need time. And
Absolutely.
if you lead with time as the thing that's needed, then you'll never be dissatisfied essentially with where you're at. Coming from a 36-year-old guy who worried about not being enough, worried about not making enough, and realized that's like, I make more now in a month than I did in the year. And it's like, but it's like, when did I ever think that I'd actually be satisfied? Now, here's the secret of where you need to get to, and this is where I want to see all coaches get, because to me, it's not about doing 100K a month. It's about being content while not also being complacent, but just being freaking stoked about where you're at, man.
Yeah.
That is success, to be happy.
Yeah.
And
I
happy
agree.
starts with the decision of like, happiness is look where I'm at now versus look where I used to be. Happiness will never happen if you go, look where I'm at, but look where I'm not. Hard to find happiness in that. And there's a book, if you haven't read it, I think everybody should read it that's listening. It's called The Gap and the Gain. And it talks about the gap is where you're at versus where you want to be. And I'll be happy when? I'll be happy at 20K. I'll be happy at 30K. I'll be happy at $1 million. And it's like, no, you won't. Or you're going to look in the mirror and call yourself small for the rest of your life. It's that same concept, right?
Yeah.
You'll be 300 pounds. And I go, yeah, but I'm not 400.
Yeah.
Or you'll be driving a Lamborghini with millions of dollars in the bank, and you go, yeah, but I don't have a yacht yet. Where is happiness? The gain is how far you've come. And it's like, look how far I've came, and I'm excited to where I'm going. But happiness is in what we've accomplished, not what's still ahead of us. And so the pursuit of happiness actually is wrong in context. We have to be happy now. You cannot actually achieve happiness because it doesn't come after something happens. It's about the journey, not the destination. That's essentially that core definition of that. That's something I've learned over the last 2 years. And like, I think that's one of my biggest messages is that we can't worry and stress and all those things and also call ourselves a believer. And so I think all these things just all just tie together. And it's like, man, I know you're a man of faith, and staying centered on that is joy will just follow you throughout this journey and continue to push you towards success because you just need time.
I think that's that's where my unsatisfaction is, not from the, I could give a crap about like how much I'm making as long as my bills are paid. I'm happy doing this. Where I think my unsatisfaction is now is like, this work is what really satisfies me, and I want to do more of it so that I can like leave the day job, which I'm starting to plan towards. I think that's probably by the end of the year is like going to be possible. So I want to do more of this work that is fulfilling me, that is my God-given purpose. How can I get there quicker? And it's not an aspect of quicker, because if you onboarded me 20 clients and I had to do this full time, it would be a huge stress test. So I know it's a slowly build up over time, make sure I have all the systems in place so that I can actually support everyone and give them all the individual time that they need, because that's where the value is that I'm providing, is like in those little interactions with people. It's not, can I have 100 clients by the end of the year? It's how much can I pour into each of these, 30 clients that I build up over time.
That's it, man. Well, dude, I just want to say thank you for coming on, man. And I love what you're doing, helping those that help us essentially stay alive and thrive. So appreciate you coming on, man.
Anytime. Thanks, Mike.
You got it.